What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well, having a good Monday. It never stops, DJ. We're disappointed about the game on Friday, and another game comes straight away to redeem ourselves. So we're talking about the press conference before tomorrow's game at Turf Moor, Burnley versus Manchester United. We've got some really exciting stuff coming. That's all I'll say. Just keep an eye on the channel. We've got some very exciting stuff coming when it comes to this game. So we're going to be talking today a little bit about Ralf Rangnick's press conference. He had his press conference about an hour or so. It's always fascinating to hear what Rangnick has to say. His quotes, we're going to get into them, see what he means by them, a little bit of hidden meaning in the middle of it. You know what it is. You just try and dissect those kind of things, DJ. First of all, though, this wasn't actually in the press conference. This was in the little bit afterwards where Ralf Rangnick does an exclusive interview with MUTV. But we found out there is no Fred and there is no Alex Telles for tomorrow's game at Turf Moor against Burnley because they have both tested positive for COVID. This is what Ralf Rangnick has said, quote, yeah, we have two players missing. Alex Telles already missed the cup game because he tested COVID positive last week. And unfortunately, the same thing happened today with Fred. That's why he'll be missing. That's why they'll be missing from tomorrow's game and possibly even the game against Southampton. Now, there were reports, it must be said, earlier this morning that Fred had shown up to training and then got sent away basically 20 minutes later, which only really means one thing in this current climate. So no Fred, no Telles. DJ, what do you make of that one? Are they big misses tomorrow?
I don't really think so. I don't really think so in the grand scheme of things. I think we'll just kind of go with the same 11. Maybe not Ronaldo starting the game, actually. I think that would be a big call. But yeah, I don't think they're big misses. Pogba's back now, which is good. Shaw's back. And I think it kind of it strengthens the point kind of where Ralf wanted to make sure he had a lot of cover for a lot of positions because unfortunately going forward, we're probably going to see more of these COVID incidences. So I don't think they're that missed, in my opinion.
Do you think I would have played yesterday? I mean, given the fact that, the concern would be, obviously, and this is why the testing policy and protocols are in place, guys, but Fred obviously did come on Friday, which would be the concern. Of course, Telles missed the game. But do you think either one, Telles probably would have been out because he tested positive, but do you think Fred would have started?
That's a very good question, actually. And I think we're yet to see kind of what Ralph's looking to do if Fred is fully fit and available. Does he go straight into the midfield? It's a conundrum at the moment. I don't think he would have started. I think Ralph would have just gone with Pogba, gone with McTominay, and gone with Bruno. Just keep that three. They had, I hate to mention it, a good game in parts in that dreadful game against Middlesbrough. But
Ralph agrees with you. Ralph agrees with you.
I do think those three would have been. I think he's going to keep it the same until it doesn't work anymore.
I think the Telles one, it looks to be, if he missed the cup game because of COVID, he was never going to play anyway. So it's the Fred one that really might be the miss, considering, I think, 120 minutes of football.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at a Paul Pogba that's just come back. I think you're right, though. I think Pogba will start anyway. Maybe when you need that extra bit of legs in there, that's what Fred would have been. And maybe it would have been Pogba, Fred and Bruno, and maybe it's just going to have to be the same because of that. Either way, we're going to have no Fred or Telles tomorrow, but we'll get into the questions at the press conference that we did see, because this was one of those ones where I was looking at it, I was like, okay, and then suddenly it was like, Fred and Telles missing. I was like, where did that happen? I thought I missed it. Terrible, I was checking my notes. So the first question was about, obviously, there had been no league match since we beat West Ham. What did Ralf Rangnick and what did Manchester United work on during the winter break? And this is what Rangnick had to say, quote, apart from playing together as a team in defence and improving and developing our defence work, together we invested some time in our offensive principles, and it showed in the game against West Ham and Middlesbrough where we created numerous chances. I can't remember a game in the last couple of years where our team created so many chances. 30 shots on goal. In the end, it didn't lead to the result we wanted, but we dominated the game in most parts, and we did well in creating those chances. Now, DJ, in my opinion, I think he's right. I think he's right. And I think we spoke about this in the match reaction after the game on Friday, is that whilst it was disappointing, and I'm not trying to spin it, and it may sound like a spin of like, oh, you're just trying to look for positives in a situation that was very negative. But I think you do have to still look at the game in context and just go like, I don't know if it's a freak game, but I just think 9 times out of 10, if we get that many chances, even against a championship side, against a Premier League side, I think we win that game comfortably. And like he sort of said, the biggest frustration coming out of that game is obviously it's embarrassing and it was a big competition that we wanted to win, but like we should have been 3 or 4-0 up. And I think he's trying to say there, like we had so many opportunities and we're creating opportunities which we weren't doing. So, I mean, surely that's a positive, right?
100%. And I think we were sort of like some of the few people and few fans that were saying that game, although it almost went down as a tragedy because of how many chances we created. But I didn't really look at that game and be like, oh, we're awful and blah. I didn't really go into that mindset. I was annoyed at the decision. I was annoyed that we didn't score. But a part of me was actually happy to have seen an improved attacking performance, an improved defensive performance in some parts. But in terms of the attacking, like I saw a lot of one-touch play, the lovely interlink between our forward players, and it hasn't been that in a very long time. So to see that, I was pleased to see a little bit of progress in that manner. But again, it's all about kind of winning games. We didn't win the game. But that was the sole positive I did take away from that game. And I think it is a good thing that we're creating chances. Like, I think it was a couple of games before West Ham. You know, they were looking at our stats like, United hasn't had one shot on target. They've had not one shot on goal. And I know we can talk about sort of like the opposition and Middlesbrough aren't the sternest test. But look, at the end of the day, we created a number of chances. We should have buried them. We didn't. But we need to take the positive and move on. And Ralph did say that in the press conference also. We need to look forward.
I think that, and like he said, it was something like 30 shots. I think like 22 are inside the box or something like that. And like he said, like 6 or 7 of them are like, I mean, guilt. We're not even talking like half chance. We're talking guilt edge, penalties, open goals, stuff that maybe I'm being too optimistic, which is rare for me, but I just feel like on another day, like Ronaldo doesn't miss a penalty, Bruno doesn't miss an open goal. Like, maybe it's not what fans want to hear, especially after you've gone out of the FA Cup, especially after you've gone out to a championship side, especially after you go 1-0 up. And especially Man United standards, I get it, but those days do happen. They do. They do. Sometimes, and I think what he's trying to point out. But if it's a recurring thing, like if it happens again tomorrow at Burnley, that is a massive problem. Then that's when you go, okay, that's not a freak. Then that is a mentality problem. But we'll see when it comes to that one. Next question was from Simon Stone, who asked about Jesse Lingard and Edison Cavani. He asked, are they both back for tomorrow's game? And is everything okay with Jesse? There's been a bit of confusion as to if he was available for the game against Middlesbrough or not. Rangnick said that he was given some extra time off, or he requested some extra time off. Jesse said, no, I was told I should take some extra time off. So there was miscommunication there. That's what Rangnick had to say. Quote, they're both available and will both be part of the squad for tomorrow's game at Burnley. Both are top professionals. Both have been training well. With regards to Jesse, I have a very good relationship with him. He knows I would have been willing to let him go, at least until the issue with Mason came up. He mentioned some personal issues. We have to look forward now. There are no problems whatsoever between myself and Jesse and vice versa. I'm happy to have him in the squad and he'll be in the squad for tomorrow night's game. So basically, first of all, he says that Cavani and Lingard are both going to be involved. They weren't involved Friday. And to be fair, especially missing that many chances, we could have used them. I think he also points out, too, that he has a good relationship with Jesse Lingard. It's never been a personal issue between him. In fact, he's had that conversation with Jesse Lingard a couple of days, or was it on deadline day, or a couple of days before deadline day, where he said, look, if it was up to me, you could go. I'd let you go. It's not in my hands. I have a good relationship with him. And he said maybe you would have gone until the situation came up, which I think is also fair to point out as well. But he stresses several times, and I think it's very curious that he does this, kind of touches what we were talking about last night, that he's saying, look, I have no issue with Jesse Lingard. I have a good relationship. Me and Jesse get on well. So basically sort of saying Jesse's anger is not at me. So don't sort of point the finger at me. Like, what do you make of that?
Yeah, I think that's what he's doing. And I think he's trying to put sort of like a full stop on this whole narrative. I think, again, I love the way Ralph comes out and he speaks, and he's quite insightful and he's very detailed in how he speaks. And I think even speaking about sort of contentious issues with sort of like the likes of Lingard and Martial, clearly today he's put sort of like a full stop on that. No problem with the player. could be hint, hint, hint. It's not me. It's the club. But nonetheless, he's literally just shut it down today. It's done. Me and Jesse are fine. And I think also I definitely think Jesse's going to be included. I think Ralph likes to do little statements like that. He'll play Jesse. Jesse will come on, whether it be a second half or plot twist, he could actually start in the place of maybe Rashford. Who knows? So we'll see.
Do you reckon he will?
No, but yeah, I definitely think.
I thought you were going to go and sound a bit crazy there for a second. Oh.
No, but I definitely think we're going to see him at some point.
I think he's, and this is the thing, like people say Ralph is very open. He's very honest, but he knows exactly what he's saying a lot of times. So when he's like, again, he's just being honest. He's like, I do not have an issue with Jesse Lingard. He points out, I said he could leave. You know, I've always given him what he wanted. I've been very transparent with him, as I am with you. You know, I told him he could leave. A situation came up. Things changed. That was unfortunate, obviously. And the situation is what it is when it comes to that. But I don't have an issue with Jesse Lingard. Jesse Lingard doesn't have an issue with me. I think it's kind of just to say, look, if you're going to sort of talk to anyone about Jesse Lingard's frustrations with the club, it's not me, right? I'm not the one handling that situation. He says that several times. Every time he is asked about transfers, about contracts, whether it's Pogba, whether it's Lingard, whether it was Henderson, whether it's whoever, he always says the same thing. I don't deal with that. That's not my responsibility. So I think that this is when, like, you would want to hear more, right, from your director of football, or you'd want to hear more from maybe your technical director. He's involved in those decisions as well, in Darren Fletcher. You'd want to hear more from John Murtough, whoever. Like, okay, you know, like the Aston Villa chairman or CEO, like every time he did the thing with Grealish in the summer, we put out a video and explained the situation. Or before, I think it was United's game against Aston Villa in the league, they spoke to him about Gerrard coming in. He spoke to him about Coutinho, and he said, yeah, it was basically because Gerrard came in and we spoke and they had a good relationship, X, Y, Z. We don't hear that at Manchester United. And I feel like they're the people to ask. Right, they're the people to ask the question to. If you're wondering what the situation was with Jesse Lingard, don't ask the guy that's not involved in the situation. What's he going to know? If anything, he's sort of just saying, like, don't ask me. Ask the people that are actually involved, and you might actually get an answer you're looking for. So I felt that it was very, you know, maybe not calculated, just honest, actually. Not even that calculated, just going like, no, we don't have problems.
But I think more managers need to do that. I think, and obviously there's going to be some managers that are going to know the ins and outs of players' contracts, etc. And maybe that's not even their field. Their job is to select a team to win the game and get the team coached in the correct way and prepared in the correct way. And I'm glad that Ralph was saying nothing to do with me. So So then we can now not ask him these questions. They're always going to be asked, but in theory, we shouldn't even be asking him these questions again, because he told you on the 7th of the 2nd, 2022, and you're hearing this live on United View, you know, a little promo there. Like, Ralph doesn't know about contracts and all of this stuff, so don't ask him. Go and find Murtough and Fletcher and all these other guys, because I believe there's just all these guys have titles and it's like they're not doing nothing. So,
and it's like he said, I told him he could leave.
Yeah,
and even that itself shows that what little influence he has in that situation.
Exactly.
If it was up to me, he'd be gone, because I told him he could leave.
Ralph's
but I
smart,
obviously have no influence.
Very smart. Very smart.
I have no influence on that situation. So again, he's just being honest. Like, again, like, you could look at that. He's been very calculated, very smart. I think he's just saying what he knows. That's it. He's just saying what he knows when it comes to the situation. Next question was from Garrett Hughes. This was quite an interesting one, actually. He said, when it comes to the scale of the task at Manchester United, obviously he came in at the end of last year, Ralph Rangnick, and the scale of the task was big. Locker room was very toxic, poor position in the league, bad results, etc. Now we're in February, and you're looking towards the remaining months of the season, coming out of the January transfer window, possibly a big overhaul in the summer. Has the overhaul in the summer become more evident now than a few months back? Is the scale of the task bigger than maybe it was previously when he came in? And Rangnick said, quote, I don't know. I don't think so. Overall, the development of the team and performances over the last couple of weeks have improved. There are 2 points of criticism we all have to face. 1, we wasted too many clear-cut chances, 22 shots inside the box, 10 were massive opportunities, and we should have easily been 3-0 up at half-time. It should have been 6-1 or 6-2. The other one was 10 seconds before we conceded the goal. It was a perfect counter-pressing situation inside their half. We took away time, but not the ball away from them, and 8 seconds later, we were outnumbered in our box. So essentially what he's saying there is that the scale of the task is still exactly the same what it is. The overhaul coming in the summer is still exactly the same as what it is. Nothing's changed in that respect because nothing will change because no one signed new deals. It's not as if the players that are possibly leaving are still not, they're still going to be leaving in the summer, like your Lingards, like your Pogba's, like your Cavani's. They're all still going to be leaving. So the scale of the task in terms of the overhaul hasn't changed that much. Henderson probably in there as well. When he's talking about, the task this season, and I think he's also basically saying that my task always really was to get top 4 and just sort of keep us plodding along to the end of the season, essentially. So that task hasn't changed as well. And he's just sort of, again, pointing out against Middlesbrough that we should have been 3-0 up at half time. We could have scored 6 in that game. Like he says, 22 shots inside the box, 10 are massive opportunities. And the reason they scored their goal, and it doesn't say it in that quote, but he was very much still saying the handball goal. He goes, I referred to it as the handball goal. But his point was, even from that situation, we weren't defending properly. So what do you make of that? Do you think the scale of his sort of task that he's got at Manchester United has changed between now and when he came in?
No, the funniest thing, I think the only people that had an idea of how big the task is at Manchester United was us fans. Obviously Rangnick, you could tell he did his homework a little bit before coming into the position. But you never know, you never truly know once you're actually in at the helm when you're the manager. I think the task is exactly how it was. It's a big task, and it is a big ask as well for him coming in to a dressing room that was literally on the floor at that point. And, he is right. There have been some improvements, very slow, small, incremental improvements, but there have been improvements. And I think it's clear to see that this United team, they're never gonna reach the heights overnight. It's just not gonna happen. So what we can do is improve a little bit, get us the bare minimum, which is top 4. And I know it's horrible saying that as a United fan, but it's just the reality of the situation where we're looking at top 4. We're hopefully going to be within that race. I think it's 1 or 2 points between us, West Ham, and even Arsenal. I think they're still hanging around. So I think we just need to aim for the bare minimum, get 4th. And if we can improve certain aspects of our game within that time, defending, great, because as we know, some of these players are not going to be here in the summer anyway. So right now, it's damage limitation jobs right now, and the task is exactly how it's been.
I agree. I think that him just basically saying, like, my job when I came in here was to basically get us top 4. I'm an interim manager, so it's in the title. I'm here to keep us plodding along and hopefully just steer the ship in the right direction and then hand it off to someone else at the end of the season. That's his job. I would be really surprised if when he was accepting the job, like the Glazers and Ed Woodward at the time, their big point was, you have to win the FA Cup. You have to win the FA Cup, Ralph. I don't think they'd be saying that. They would just say, look, ultimately get to the end of the season, get top 4, steady the ship. If you can improve the style of football, if you can set things up for the next manager that comes in, that would be great as well. We're going to be apparently working with you when it comes to the recruitment of this new manager. That's his job. So I don't think necessarily the scale of that task has improved. He said also, says in the question, this big overhaul in the summer. Well, he said at the moment he's not involved in any of that. So that's not a really big scale task. If a task isn't big that you're not actually doing, that you're not involved in. Oh, I've got a really big task. Are you doing it? No. It's massive, isn't it? It's a massive problem for you. So again, his focus at the moment is just, like you said, on the pitch. I think, like he said, and like you said, there have been improvements, maybe slower than he would have hoped, maybe slower than the fans would have hoped. I think maybe we thought, especially after that bit of a false dawn, if you will, against Palace, that first game, that we were going to see something radically different really quickly. We haven't, and I don't think we are, because we play a completely different style already, that he's abandoned the 4-2-2 because it's not working. So and again, that shows his hand in the sense that it's not about implementing systems. It's not about changing styles of play, really. It's just about getting results and getting that top 4. That's all the Glazers care about. And that's frustrating for us, obviously, because we would have hoped to get a trophy this season. The FA Cup was probably the best bet. He talks on that later on. But he's an interim manager. It's in the title. And,
exactly.
and until if he becomes a permanent manager, which I don't think he will, then maybe you can start looking. Maybe then he can start looking at the scale of the task. But when you're an interim, your mentality is interim as well, right? You're only looking at the short-term future as opposed to the long-term future. We need a rebuild. We keep saying that. How can you be involved in a long-term rebuild when you don't know your future post the end of the season.
Exactly.
That doesn't mix.
Exactly. And I think, in terms of a rebuild, and it might be going off topic a little bit, but I've been thinking about this morning. If we're gonna have this rebuild and we're potentially looking at maybe 6 first-team players going out the door, that's just off the top of my head. I'm hoping that the Glazers and the board, and even Rangnick, if he goes behind the scenes, are going to be well prepared and well equipped to get players in the door. Because there's no point us losing 6 players and then we only bring in 2, and then promote a bunch of young, unproven players, because we're just weakening ourselves beyond belief. And if we are going to build something for the next manager, money does need to be spent. There's no time for we can't afford this and no, spend the money, Glazers. Just for once, just spend the money. And they do spend the money in terms of one-off big purchases. They do, but no penny scrimping now. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they need to invest some of their money in it. Like, they're sitting on fortune. So we need a big investment. I think maybe the biggest investment we've had at Manchester United post-Fergie. It's got to be.
It's got to be a big summer, and I think, like you said, I think that's another thing. And again, if Ralph was the permanent manager, that is a big task. That's a really big task. But he's not involved in contracts now. So let alone the planning for the summer and all that kind of stuff. He's a consultant. Even when he's a consultant, he's not making the final call on it. He's offering his opinion, his advice. So even that, like, that's not a big task to put your 2 cents in. Yeah. So, the scale of the task is exactly the same, I think, anyway. The next question was from Andy Mittum. Talked about Rafael Varane, spoke about his performances as of late, what he brings to the squad, his influence, how he settled in. Rangnick said, quote, "I think he has arrived in the meantime. He seems to be physically fit. He has no issues anymore with injuries. Up until he was substituted, he did extremely well with Harry Maguire against a championship side, but an ambitious championship side. I'm very happy to have him for tomorrow's game. Hopefully we can have him in the same form for upcoming matches." So Rangnick saying he's happy with Varane's form. He's happy with what he's bringing to the side, and saying that he's not having any issues anymore with injuries. Didn't mention why he was substituted against Middlesbrough, but logic would suggest that it was probably just a case of, we know his injury record, we know his fitness record, we're going to need him for bigger games this season. Let's think a little bit long term when it comes to this one. What have you felt with Varane's form recently?
Yeah, I've been thoroughly impressed, and I've been watching him closely because, there was a little bit of some murmurings about, is he still the same high level Varane? And I think the answer is, I don't think he is. With age, players, they become different players, don't they? But from what I've seen with him, he literally does stand. He literally stands above all of our defenders that we have, just in everything that he does in terms of his technique, his distribution. He can do the pretty side of the job really well. He can do the physical side of the job really well. He's quick. He makes intelligent passes. Like, he knows, he's just such a good footballer that when I watch him, I feel a little bit more at ease. He does bring a sense of calm to that defense. And, he's only going to enhance the players around him. Maguire's had a few okay performances since he's come back into the starting lineup. Lindelof was okay. Lindelof was on a sort of a nice even kill of performances. I just think that he's a worldie, man. He's a worldie, and it's a shame that we can't get the Champions League for him, because he's known as Champions League Varane. But I've been very impressed with his performances. Very impressed.
Yeah, me too. I think he's, and this is almost the frustrating element with his fitness history and his injury record, is that he is clearly the best defender at the club. Like, clearly, we're a worse side without him. We defend worse without him. And like you said, he's certainly a calming presence on the back, especially when you need it, against Harry Maguire, who's just the opposite of that. He's an erratic presence at the back. He makes you nervous. And the thing is, his sort of nerves when he's on the ball or when he's wrestling with people, it permeates throughout not just the team, but just the fans as well, and the stadium, And whether that's away, it permeates in terms of the home crowd, like, right, we've got him. We're rattling them. And if it's at home, it permeates through the crowd of everyone going, oh, this could get a bit messy. And when it comes to tomorrow, right, I mean, it was against Chris Wood, I think. So obviously he's moved to Newcastle. But I remember at Old Trafford that game, which was on the 30th, wasn't it? Wasn't that long ago of December? And he did it then. He was getting involved in some like wrestling matches he did not need to get involved in, and he looked shaky because of it. And look, we know exactly what Burnley are bringing tomorrow with their style. They're obviously very direct, physical, and it should be a game where you go Harry Maguire, right? Physical side. That's that would suit him playing against them. But it's almost like the opposite, isn't it? Like he gets too involved. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he gets engrossed too much with that, and it costs us. Even from set pieces, he tries to wrestle the player, but it ends up wrestling a few of our players in the melee, which
tumbles down.
Yeah, and it just causes so much chaos. And I think when I look at Harry Maguire, right, he will receive the ball off the goalkeeper, and I'm not confident because one, he moves it too slow. Don't get me wrong, he's a good passer of the ball in terms of, I think he's got like one pass he always seems to, it's his go-to, the inside left pass to either Rashford or Sancho or whatever. That's his go-to pass. Everything else in terms of how he moves the ball on he's just so slow. Varane is so dynamic. He'll collect it with the right foot, ping with the left, and vice versa. He can just use both feet. He's just so fluid with it. Maguire is like flipping. Do you ever remember those old little remote control cars that take long to turn around and they turn kind of like a robot? Like that's what he reminds me of. He's just like a robot. He's just so stiff, and he slows down the play.
And you can tell he doesn't feel confident he's going to make the pass. So you're not confident he's going to make the pass. You know what I mean? And I think that's the worrying thing. But he has played well the last couple of games. This whole thing about 80 million, it's just not even worth discussing because we know he's not an £8 million defender. He's not an £8 million player. This whole thing about him being captain, it's not even, again, really worth discussing because we know the answer. He's not a Manchester United captain. There's discussions whether he's even a Man United player. But I think there was, legitimately, I do think there was a brief moment, like last month or whatever, where he looked like he could be in a bit of trouble and losing his spot in the team because obviously he was injured. Lindelof and Varane played and they played well, and we got some good results. And it was like, and then obviously Maguire came back, but he was still on the bench. He didn't play the game. Was that against Brentford when he came on? I think, whatever it was. Yep. And I think he came on towards the end when they switched to a back five, and it was kind of like actually. There we go. He might have lost his place then. Obviously, then the stuff with Lindelof happened, and then he comes back in and then keeps clean sheet and plays well. So he's got his place back for now. But I think it does go to show that Rangnick's a bit like, nobody's untouchable. Like if I've got a winning side, I'm playing it.
Yeah, and I like that. Trust me, it's so refreshing. And I said this to Flex the other day. Like Rangnick brings a lot of the old school manager vibes. Like just the ethos of if you play well, you get in a team. If you're not playing well, you're sitting on the bench. Do you know what I mean? Like just the normal stuff. Like there's no, as I said, he's not here to make friends. He's not here to be anyone's best buds. He's not giving anyone no nicknames. I'm here to manage. This is my job. And if, for whatever reason, if you're not performing, I've got players that will come in and want to perform, and that's fine. And as a fan, it's refreshing. We've come from a manager beforehand that was doing sort of mates rates with players. And that caused all of the shit that we're in right now. So, not all of it, but part of the shit what we're in right now with players wanting to leave and stuff. So, just fair play to Rangnick, man. He's handled this well. It's been tough, but he's handled it well.
To tie up the thing about Varane, so we're saying Varane's obviously the best defender at the club. Who do you think is his best partner? It's a discussion that changes a lot, isn't it? Because I think an answer a couple of months ago might have been Bailly, and I don't think that's the answer now.
No, I'd definitely say, but they looked good. They did look good. But for me, if you want a safe bet, safe bet, Lindelof. Lindelof and Varane for me. Safe bet, Lindelof. Because they're both good with the ball at their feet, both very technical and very good passers of the ball. And I feel a little bit more calmer with them two together. With Maguire, it's always like, oh my God, he's got the ball and he's like near goal. Like, what if he gets it pinched? Because he gets it pinched quite a lot. He gets it pinched quite a lot from him, and he moves it too slow. So I'd say Lindelof. That's my pick.
And make no mistake, we still could do better. Like we're saying that, like Lindelof and all that kind of stuff, and it's a bit like, ideally we'd have a better partner for Varane, and maybe we will. Who knows what's going to happen in the summer, right? David Lee says only 93 likes, a disgrace.
It's a disgrace, guys. Come on.
Mike Phelan himself will be on at me. Definitely not Josh. They're different people. I always have to distinguish this. People think that they're the same guy. They're not. They are different people. I always have to say this.
You never see them in the same place.
People.
Never see them.
They're different people. You know, I know there's a rumor that Batman and Bruce Wayne are the same people. That's false. That's false,
man.
Where's the proof? Where's the proof? I've yet to see it. So it's exactly the same. That's coming out in March as well, next month.
Yeah, March 4th. Yeah. Mate,
how quick is that?
I know we're digressing, but that film, I've been waiting
for that film for like 2 years. Keys to the castle.
2 years I've been waiting for that film. 2 years, and I cannot wait for that. I think tickets come out, I think next week. The tickets for getting released next week.
I saw the other day, it might have been like a week or so ago, where, you know, you get on YouTube, you get those like adverts. The advert was just like a 3-minute scene.
Yeah, from the funeral. Yeah, there's a funeral scene. Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it. And people go, leaked out. I was like, it's not leaked.
Nah.
I think it's on YouTube.
Director Matt Reeves, he just said, hey guys, watch it in 4K. Here you go. And he put it back out. Yeah. So
unbelievable.
It's a 3-hour movie, so that's not a lot of it. Yeah, it's a 3-hour movie. 2 hour, 55 minutes. So yeah.
Cool. Wow. Fair play though. I'm excited.
Big Batman fan, trust me.
There's a lot of DC stuff coming up this year. It's very exciting. A lot exciting. But we'll move on. Last question was from Michael Gray, who spoke about obviously the FA Cup defeat on Friday. He asked, was that the best opportunity to bring silverware back to United this season? Rangnick said, yes, of course, but that is still a hypothetical. There are still a lot of top clubs in the competition. Of course, everyone could see how seriously we were prepared. We desperately wanted to win the game. We were not clinical enough. We didn't score enough goals. Should have been 3-0 up at half time. We wanted to make subs after 70 minutes for the game against Burnley, but we couldn't do that. He also pointed out that other teams, such as Chelsea, West Ham, and 2 or 3 other teams struggled against smaller teams. So it wasn't just us. And I'm a bit like,
right, Ralph, stop.
Yeah, I was like, don't say that, because also as well, if you're going to look about Chelsea and West Ham, they both won still. We didn't. So
exactly.
Don't put that one out. But he also pointed out that everyone wanted to proceed to the next round. Everybody was disappointed, but now it's time to look ahead, make the best out of the situation, and try and get 3 points tomorrow. I guess it's the German equivalent of "we go again."
Yeah, basically.
But it's interesting though, and I think it's a good point to discuss, is that he basically said, look, if we were 3-0 up, which we should have been, or if we were 2, 3, 4, 5-0 up, which we should have been, I would have made subs in preparation for this game tomorrow and rested some legs, which we haven't been able to do. How much of a problem do you think that's going to be for us tomorrow?
I was worried about this, to be fair. I was, because the players look maxed out literally at the end of I don't know how long we played. How long did we play? Is it like 2 hours nearly or something, like included with all the breaks
minutes.
and stuff?
Yeah. Longer,
Yeah, like damn, like that's a heavy toll. So I'm guessing most of the days would have been about recovery. Not even really being on the training ground, to be fair. I think it's going to affect us. And I think one way to counteract that is we may see our style of play be a bit slower than it already is. Because I don't think the players want to sort of like max themselves out straight away. We could see this game's probably going to come down to one half of football. We might be able to get the job done in one half of football and then just coast the rest of it. I'm not really looking for any amazing performances because of that, because we played so long the other night. I'm just looking for a win, 1-0. I'll take a 1-0 scrape, whatever. We just got to get the result, to be fair. That's it.
Because some would say, well, they were on holiday, won't have a training for 10 days, so they should be fresh. But even so, my response to that would be 120 minutes. I know this is championship side, but he's still talking about elite level football, playing 72 hours later, a bit longer than that, however many days later, 4 days later. In the Premier League, that's tough. That's a big ask against a side that's going to be physical against Burnley. I think the positive that Rangnick might look from it, if you can, is that we're probably going to have a lot of the ball tomorrow. So your thing would just be, look, maybe this is even more important to dictate the tempo of the game. You're going to have a lot of the ball. So you have to manage your fitness levels. You have to manage your energy levels. And you do that by keeping the ball. We talk about pressing and all this kind of stuff. But ultimately, if you've got the ball, the other team are chasing it. So
exactly.
make them do all the work. And certainly, we don't want to be chasing the game. We don't want to have to be chasing around, especially considering what happened. I think also, an interesting point is that he basically said, look, I wanted to make subs because of the game. Would that imply then that he's definitely going to rotate? We're not going to see the exact same starting 11 that we saw?
It depends. I think, mate, you know what, you're right. Maybe we see Elanga start. I know that this will probably be safe for a match preview, but I think we may see sort of Elanga start. I think Sancho might start as well, seeing as he came off, didn't he? Sancho came off after a while, didn't he? Yeah, he came off. So I think we might see Elanga, Sancho start. If Cavani's fit, we might see Cavani get on the start as well. I'd bench Ronaldo, Rashford, if possible. I think Pogba starts. McTominay, Mr. Available, he'll be there. We've ain't got no Donny, so Bruno's gonna have to be picked.
Yeah, it's a game that it feels like if Donny was a bit. Wow, I say that though. You know for a fact if he had Donny, he would not play. Even so, after playing 120 minutes of football, having a game just days later, people going and Fred's out. You'd be like, oh, you've got to. We've had that situation before, guys, where it's like, oh, he has to play, and he doesn't. So I don't even know if he would play.
Actually, maybe Matic comes into the side. Maybe Matic comes inside. We're talking about physicality. Is it Burnley that has that new striker that's like massive? Yeah. He's like 6'6" or something crazy like that.
Something like that,
we're gonna go for height. He may even play who knows? Bruno might be rested and he might just play a midfield three of Matic, McTominay, and Pogba. Who knows for height? But I don't know. But I do see.
Say what about Hannibal?
Nah, not against Burnley. He's like feeding it.
That'd be a tough one to throw him into, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's you're throwing him into the wolves, man. You're leading a lamb to the slaughter, and he's a good player, but they're gonna
Burnley away Tuesday night, cold,
muddy. You know them games, in proper
like 8
British
p.m. kickoff,
games.
Yeah.
Cold. You can see your breath in the air, and the tackles are gonna be sliding in, and not good for him. I've never been to Burnley, but I heard it rains a lot. So, you just... I don't know. I don't think Hannibal would be in there unless you played him as one of the attackers, like right up the top. Nowhere in the midfield. But yeah, we will see changes. I think Lingard will be a key change as well, I think. Yeah.
Also, there used to be, wasn't it? Can you do it on a cold Tuesday night in Stoke? Well, Stoke are in Premier League now. Can you do it on a cold Tuesday night in Burnley?
Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, I'll take that.
Exactly. But going off what Rangnick was saying as well about that question, was it our best opportunity to bring silverware back to United this season? Would you agree it was?
No, I think we could win the Champions League. Hell no, we can't. No, I'm only joking. Yeah, that was our best. Yeah. I think United on their day can beat any Premier League team in the league. On their day, I think anyone. We could beat anybody. But when we start going into Europe, it's just different. I just don't see it. If we did, it'd be the weirdest season. It'd be one of the weirdest seasons ever. It would be weird because even if we won a Champions League, I'd still feel that we'd lost something. It just wouldn't feel right because of how shit we've been. But, no one ever thought that Leicester was going to win the league. So it's still a possibility as long as we're in it. But that was our FA Cup was our best chance to win something.
Also, as well, I think it's worth pointing out to win any tournament, what do you have to be? You have to be consistent. Man United, we've been so inconsistent this season. So, and against very
so
consistently
I know inconsistent.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's obviously, I agree. It was best chance of winning silverware. I just don't know if I was even confident we were even going to win the FA Cup. I think that's the thing that hurts people. People are like, this was our best chance of silverware. But if you really deep it and sit there and go, were we actually going to win it though? Were we consistent enough to win that tournament? The answer is probably no.
I think we would have got to quarters, maybe.
I think people look at it as we still got a good squad on our day, right? On our day FC, all this kind of stuff. But I would also say to that, we have played against some big sides, which we would have got at some point in the FA Cup, most likely, and been absolutely just flattened this season. So that would have been a concern. But in fairness, when it comes to Ralph, we haven't seen Ralph play the big sides yet. So who knows how he would have lined up against him. It is disappointing. Obviously, we want to win a trophy. I saw this thing the other day of been obviously, because it's been, what's it now, 5 years since we've won a trophy. Mourinho's season was the last one, his first season. And if you look at it, it was a really good tweet. I can't remember who it was from, but if you look at it from it's like beginning of the 90s. Every season, pretty much, there's
I've
a
seen
trophy.
that tweet. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
I've seen
yeah.
that. Yeah,
Every
yeah, and
season
then it
there's a
had
trophy.
first, second place, and like when we
Yeah,
finished
yeah,
in
yeah,
league as well. Yeah, like
yeah. And then it gets to 2017 and the trophies stop. And every season since then, it's just completely stopped. And that is frustrating. I also think, like with any club, with any history, no matter how extensive, no matter how limited your history is, nobody has a divine right to be successful. Nobody has a divine right to win anything. Just because we're Manchester United, that doesn't mean that we should win trophies because our name. You have to earn it.
yeah,
And we
of
haven't won
course.
trophies the last 5 years because we haven't earned it and we haven't been good enough. And
Yeah,
that's the problem. We
yeah,
should look at our history and say our standards have to be here. We have to achieve this, but we can't. But that we have no divine right to be winning those things. We have to be achieving them. We have to be good enough. And I think it goes back to the players, right?
yeah, of
You have to look
course.
at the players and say, look at that history. That's where your standard has to be, and that's where it isn't at this point. And like we spoke about last night, I think there's a massive cultural issue at Manchester United.
Yeah,
And my
yeah,
concern is, as a fan, I just don't know how that gets fixed. I really don't.
yeah. It's difficult, especially. And you know what? Maybe we should do a show where we literally just break down. I think everyone kind of knows the issues with United, and people just say, "Oh, it's the Glazers, this and that." But if we really break it down into levels, like for example, there's an infrastructure issue at Manchester United, a massive infrastructure issue in terms of personnel. So you can have all these roles, but are the personnel even good? We talk about players being good on the pitch. Are the personnel that are behind coaches
Yeah.
and all that stuff, are they really good? Do you know what I mean? We really have to. Is the club scouts? Is that at a high level? It's just everything we need to start questioning. We're an old dinosaur in the Premier League in terms of we're the old great heavyweight kind of thing, and we just haven't gotten with the times. Our competitors have updated themselves, revamped themselves, and we haven't done that because for us, we've been under a manager for how many years that was doing it his way, and it was great because he had good credit with the club, like he'd won stuff. So the club were like, "Yeah, Fergie, do what you want to do, mate." But now the age of football slightly changed where each position in the infrastructure is very integral and important to performances on the pitch. And if that's not addressed, then you can buy all the world's best players and they will get you so far. The world's best players will get you to about fourth in the league. But if we're talking about going and winning cups and winning the league maybe consecutively or being in a title mix every season, is exactly what you said. It takes consistency and you need the quality behind the scenes as well as on the pitch to do that. And we just don't.
That's what it is. Best in class. I talk about best in class. I think people assume that's players, but
Yeah.
it's best in class in everything, isn't it? You
Everything.
can't
Yeah.
tell me we have the best director of football in the world,
Yeah.
or we have the best technical director in the world, or we have the best scouting department in the world. We
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
And eventually that catches up to you ultimately.
Yeah.
And there are Premier League clubs that have way better, scouting networks or have way better, directors of football, technical directors, all that kind of stuff. They just do. And I think the frustrating thing also is that we had this sort of lead over everyone for years when it came to that.
It
And
hurts. So
by
at the
us
start,
sort of
it hurts.
stagnating, people have just sort of caught up. And I think that's the frustrating. It's best in class everywhere. That's what it
Yeah.
is. But wow, let's try and think of something positive. I don't want to end on a negative note. I was going to ask, what's your prediction for tomorrow? Don't ask me.
I think Burnley going to score, I say 2-1. 2-1 United. It's going to be another,
United.
I think it's going to be another balls to the wall type of game. I think it's just going to be war and peace, man. Burnley, you never get an easy night. Yeah, you never get an easy night with them, and we're going to be tired. So I think our performances are going to. I don't expect a performance how we played against Middlesbrough. I don't, and that's crazy to say that because of how bad that game turned out and how long we played. I think unless Ralph's going to do wholesale changes, first 11, the performances are going to be quite mundane. We're going to limp over the line in the game. I still think we'll get the win, but we're going to be limping over the line.
I was going to end on a positive.
It's just where we're at. All right, we're going to win.
Yeah, there you go. I think that we're going to win. My hope is, and I'm not going to do a score because I don't like predicting, but yeah. I think that given how we played against Middlesbrough, I think if we make that amount of chances, I think this time we do score them. I really, truly do believe that was just. Sometimes those things happen. I don't know why, but they do. So I think if we make those amount of chances, we'll win. We're playing inside the bottom of the league. right? And that kind of shows where we are right now, is the fact that we're playing bottom of the league and we're still like, we're not
Yeah,
that confident,
yeah.
So I think we'll win. My hope is that we do score a couple of goals, set things straight a little bit, and just sort of remind people that actually, you know what? Yeah, the Middlesbrough result was really disappointing, but there were parts of that game that were somewhat encouraging. And
Hmm.
arguably, we're going to be playing a side in Burnley that's essentially, well, they almost feel like a championship side at this point. It looks like they're going to be
Yeah, yeah,
next
yeah.
season. So I hope to see a good performance, and I hope to see a better performance than what we have seen against the teams that are lower down there that we've played recently. Our performances against the likes of Norwich and Newcastle were horrific,
Yeah.
and I want to just see more domination. That's what I'm hoping for. But anyway, guys, look, we're out of here. Flex is going to be back with a preview, and a very interesting preview later on
Oh,
this
okay.
evening. Yeah. Oh, you know me, DJ. I'm all about the teasers. I'm all about the teasers. So there's going to be it's going to be a really fun video that's dropping later on this evening. So be sure to subscribe. Be sure to click the notification bell. You'll be notified when that video comes up. Tomorrow, of course, it's match day. So we've got all of the match day experience. We've got road trip. We've got match view, which I think KG's doing. I mean, who knows?
Yeah,
I think KG's doing that. Match reaction with, I'm assuming, DJ and myself, right?
yep.
I haven't
It'll
even
be us
asked him.
too. Yeah,
I'm asking him
yeah.
live on the air. There
I'm
you go.
here. I'm here for it.
That's the planning. That's the planning we bring to this channel. So there'll be the match reaction afterwards, and obviously after that, we'll have all of the fan views outside Turf Moor. So plenty of content to come, and we'll speak for you again very, very soon. Peace.